Hello, everybody. Good afternoon from St. George's Society of New York. Thank you so much for joining us today for St. George's Society Cooks with chef and owner of Jones Wood Foundry, Jason Hicks. Before we begin cooking and learning, myself and my colleague Hastings Hill are just going to do a quick introduction of St. George's Society for those of you that don't know us. So I'm going to pass it on to Hastings very quickly.
Thank you, Ilian, and thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you're all excited and hungry. I'd especially like to thank Jason and Jones Wood Foundry for being a longtime community partner of St. George's Society. So for those of you who are new to St. George's, a little bit about us. We are a charity. We were founded in 1770. So we're actually celebrating our 250th birthday this year. Our work supports seniors at risk of homelessness, students in their final year of university, as well as families affected by pediatric cancer. And you can learn more about our work on our website at stgeorgesociety.org. And all of our work is supported by a very strong, powerful, and amazing membership community. So I invite you to learn more about joining our community and becoming a member. That information is also on our website. Not only will you be supporting a great cause and a organization with a very long history, but you'll also have access to some amazing perks and discounts from our community partners like Jones Wood Foundry. So I'm just going to hand it back to Ilian. Thanks again for coming and have fun.
Thank you, Hastings. So for today, just a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. So we're going to keep everyone muted throughout the demo. If you do have questions, please use the chat function at the bottom of your screen. Add any questions that you may have in there, and I will relay them on to Jason throughout the demo. I recommend you being in speaker mode rather than gallery. This makes it so that you see one main screen. So when I switch over to Jason's screen, it might switch up to gallery if you have your settings that way. It's just in the top right-hand corner of your screen. We recommend doing that so that Jason's screen is the biggest one on there. Additionally, we might take a screenshot or two as we go through. If you don't feel like being photographed, please just turn your camera off for that time being. If you are the type to post photos, please make sure to tag St. George's Society, Jones Wood Foundry, and use the hashtag SGSNY250. So now I am delighted. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to pass things over to Jason Hicks, who is our chef for the day and will be guiding us through the tutorial today. So you should see Jason. I'm going to just unmute you really quickly. And good luck. And just a heads up, so I am going to be cooking along with Jason today as well, and trying my first Scotch egg, which I've never had one before. So I'm looking forward to that. Jason, I think you need to unmute yourself on the phone. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, are we good?
All good.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, St. George's. Long-time supporter of St. George's. You do amazing things, and really happy. Hastings, Leanne, thank you. All right, so Jones Wood Foundry, we're about 10 years old. We're just coming up for our 10th anniversary. Unfortunately, due to current situations, I feel that we probably won't have the big party that I was planning, but anyway, here we are. So 10 years, the concept came from me being a chef for many years and New York since '96, classically French trained or whatever. I just wanted to have a bit of fun and just open up a place that was a lot of conviviality, a lot of create nostalgia for people that have been to a pub before in the UK and they can come in. The focus here is undoubtedly on food. After about 4 years, we opened a second place called the Shakespeare. That's in Midtown, if anyone's not been there, on 39th Street. Identical menu, same vibe, just a different demographic. So that's about Jones Wood. The whole premise of today is not really about a master class of me showing you how wonderful I am or anything like that. It's more about how to do something that a lot of people have heard about, i.e. the Scotch egg, and how it can be fun and easy, and you don't have to stress about the recipe, the ingredient list, and all the rest of it. It's very versatile. You can use it to have a cocktail party by using quail eggs. You can use up the leftovers in the fridge and start wrapping up your eggs and things like that. You can do it on a rainy Sunday afternoon with the kids and just have a bit of fun. So obviously Eliane is going to give me questions along the way if there's any, but I'm just going to maybe go a little bit fast if you're cooking along and you're trying to keep up. But if I do that, then I will, you will be able to go back and view the video if you need to. But at the same time, it's all very straightforward. The recipe that we gave you would make about 5 Scotch eggs. I'm not going to be weighing anything. You're going to notice that I said, I think 1 lemon. I might not use the whole lemon. It's all about your personal taste, and I'll explain that. So you need to do one thing. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. All right, so one little thing I want to do on safety. So we're going to be using oil today. So I want to make sure that there's no disasters at home. If you, hopefully you've already boiled your water. If not, put it on right now. Your oil, don't put it on yet. I'll prompt you when to put it on. Try to have a towel close by. This is my water here for the for the eggs. If I was cooking with a pot and I had a disaster and I reached flash point, the first thing I would do is shut off the fire or the electricity, whatever form you're using to heat the oil. I'd put the rag in the water, take it out, squeeze it, put the rag over the pot and leave it. Don't touch it, okay? It will extinguish it. It will be safe. It won't create a big fire in the rest of the kitchen, and everything will be good. I really don't want to freak anybody out, but if you did have a fire, then that's how you're going to handle it. The other thing is, once we finish the demo, I'm going to try and remind you, but shut the heat off, because you might need to put it back on again to get the right temperature. If you've got thermometers, just play around with. You need it about 350 degrees. And you can play with the temperature, by switching it on and off. If you're using a fryer like I'm using here, then ignore everything I just said. All right, so quick run through of the ingredients. For the actual meat that I'm going to use, we're adapting a recipe at Jones Wood, which is we make our own chorizo. It takes about 2 weeks to make, so we're not going to make it today. We make our own sausage for the Scotch egg. Today I'm going to be using Myers of Keswick sausages, probably honestly the best I've ever tasted. I use absolutely tons of them. I'm going to be using store-bought chorizo. Okay, this has already had the casing taken off the chorizo. I'm going to show you how to do the one on the sausage. I'm also going to make one for vegetarian. This is just Beyond Meat. It's about 4 ounces. Again, you can use anything you want. Just remember with this recipe, you can do whatever you want. For the sauce, tartar sauce, massive classic. I mean, really, we use it a lot. We use it with the fish and chips, and if you have leftovers, you can use it for crudités, or if you want to, if you didn't use it up there, then you have some asparagus, and steam the asparagus, boil an egg, chop it up, fold it through your tartar sauce, and serve it over the warm asparagus. Another great dish, right? So the ingredients for that: cornichons. Cornichons, I've already chopped them through. Capers, I chopped them through. Obviously, the cornichon, you're getting a pickle flavor. The capers are all briny, salty. Parsley, this is a flat leaf parsley. If you're using curly parsley, that's fine too. Milk, I won't pick that up. I'm sorry, no milk, forget the milk. Lemon juice and mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is just a store-bought mayonnaise I'm using. For the breading itself, we need three things. First thing would be the flour. Then an egg wash, which I'm going to basically just break a few eggs, add a bit of milk, whip it up. That's the egg wash. And I'm using panko breadcrumbs. So these breadcrumbs, we just ground them a little bit just to make them a little finer. If you haven't done that, it's fine. Don't worry. I would say I at home would never buy breadcrumbs because we always end up throwing so much bread out that I freeze the bread. And then once in a while, you would just put it in a warm oven, let it get all dehydrated. We'll just make our own breadcrumbs. You can just put it in a sealed container and it'll be happily there, and then you'll have to buy the breadcrumbs and you're using up everything. All right, so first thing we're going to do is boil the eggs. So,
Jason,
as I said, hopefully you. Hello.
Someone's asking if they can use gluten-free breadcrumbs.
Absolutely, yeah. When you're using the things like a gluten-free bread as opposed to the regular bread, you may have a different reaction in the fryer. You might need to lower the temperature. I think that it should be okay, but sometimes it might color a little quicker. But absolutely, you can definitely use gluten-free bread. In fact, we do sometimes. But we have, as I said, we have a little bit lower temperature. It's about 340. All right. So the eggs. The idea of the eggs, what we're doing here, we're going to boil the eggs. We're going for a soft yolk. So I'm going to cook them for literally 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So, and then I'm going to go into the ice bath, and I'm almost guaranteed to get a runny yolk in the middle. If you don't like runny yolks, then just increase the time, obviously, of cooking them. Like I was saying before, the versatility of the Scotch egg, the part of the history of the Scotch egg, there's many claims. I'm just waiting for my water to boil. There's lots of claims to where the Scotch egg came from, but nobody really knows. The one thing for sure is I've never found anything that said it came from Scotland, ironically. But the versatility is like, for me, like a picnic item. So I remember sort of coming home from school or going to the butcher shop with my mother, and she'd treat me to a Scotch egg. It would be cold. You could eat it on picnics. You could take it on a fishing trip with you, all the rest of it. So it's ideal for just kind of like snacking. All right, so water's almost coming up. I've got white wine vinegar. The white wine vinegar is going to help set up the albumin in the egg whites. I'm going to put salt in the water too. Eggs are very porous. It's also going to help the even cooking of the egg. So in there now is just water and salt and vinegar. I think I forgot to mention, so just double check before you put your oil on that you don't have too much oil in your pan or your pot. The oil should be coming up no more than halfway. All right. I did actually boil this before, so. All right, so the other thing is we're gonna start to make the tartar sauce. Again, like I said before, it's all the ingredient list I gave you is you don't have to put everything in. So I've got here some spoons for tasting. As we're making the sauce and we're putting in like the vinegary, pickly element as opposed to the salty caper element, we'll be tasting it along the way, and then you just stop when you think you've got where you've got it where you want it. All right. You want to have a really big, fast boil on your water. That's why I'm sort of waiting for this one. I've got my slatted spoon. I'm going to take my eggs and I'm going to gently put them in the water. I'm not just going to throw them in the water. The reason is I don't want the egg, I don't want to shock the egg too much and have the shell break. If it breaks, obviously I'm going to have a problem because all the whites will come out. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to take my eggs over.
Jason, how many eggs are we putting into the water?
So I'm putting right now 3, 4. I'm going to put 4 in there. I'm
4.
only going to do 2 on the demo, but the tricky part of the whole dish, or the hardest part, is to peel the egg without breaking the yolk. So if I do have an accident, then I want to have a backup. You saw me click the timer there, so it's on set for 6 minutes and 30 seconds, and that's happily boiling away, and we'll start to make the sauce while that's going. But I'm ready to go. As soon as that timer goes off, I'm going to just go eggs, water, ice bath, done. Okay, so for the sauce, first thing we're going to do is the mayonnaise. So with this sauce, don't forget that you can use it in so many things. So if you end up using most of your ingredients here and you end up with too much, don't worry. Okay, I'm going to put cornichons.
Jason, quick question on the eggs. People are asking if it's better to have them room temperature or cold from the fridge, or does it make a difference?
Yeah, it would be better to have them room temperature. That's going to help for the simple reason of the egg shells breaking. I mean, if you're using like typical eggs you might be buying from a supermarket, Stop and Shop, or whatever, then the shell is going to probably be very, very delicate. More organic eggs, the more, the shell's going to be harder. It wouldn't be such a problem. But I would definitely have them room temperature. But if it isn't room temperature, it'll be fine. Okay, so I've got my capers, my cornichons with my mayonnaise. I'm just going to set that to one side, and I'm going to take my parsley. I'm going to reserve a little bit of parsley because once we get to put the fryer on, I want to show you how to check the temperature of the fryer, see it's hot enough if you don't have a thermometer. Okay, forgot one thing. So cutting without cutting your fingers off is an important part of the job. So when I'm teaching cooks, the easiest way is to have your hand out like this, put it flat on the board, and then imagine you're grabbing an egg, maybe, right? You're grabbing something underneath your hand and you're creating like a cage look. That's the essence of being able to start to use a knife without cutting the tips of your fingers off. So I'm going to do that. My knife is going to be resting against here, and I'm going to be guaranteed I'm not going to cut my finger off. This here, when we're cutting the parsley, my knife is not actually going to be doing that chopping motion. The tip of the knife is always going to stay on the board, but it's the same thing. So it might look like I'm manhandling the parsley here, but I'm really not. I'm just trying to sort of get it into a little ball. I'm not squeezing it too much. I don't want to bruise it. And then I'm going to, as I say, run the knife through. I'm going to try to keep this parsley as fine as I can. But if your parsley starts coming out chunky, not to worry. If you're using curly parsley, then you're going to do the same method. You're going to just do exactly what I'm doing right here. But then once you've got the parsley chopped or sliced, then you're going to use your knife, and you're going to start to chop through the parsley like this or like this. Okay, that's for the curly parsley. As I said, I'm going to keep a little bit of parsley here to check the temperature of the fryer. And once we've done the parsley, if you want to turn your oil on a medium heat, then it can start to warm up. Okay.
Jason, someone's asking if they can use salted or vinegared capers.
Say that one again.
Someone's just asking if they can use salted or vinegared capers.
Either. If you're using the salted, I would give them a rinse first, just so that you don't have, it's over salted. Obviously, the pickle in your cornichons that tends to get salty too. So I would rinse them first. You can always add salt, but you can't really take it away. Okay, so back to the mayonnaise, capers, cornichons, and put my parsley inside. I'm going to start to mix it. I like the tartar sauce myself to be chunky. Okay, I got that. All right. So don't worry too much if you think that your garnish is too. That's 0386. If it's too chunky, it's going to be fine. This is a bit personal preference. Okay, and then get my slatted spoon. My eggs are almost ready. If you see me throwing stuff down here, I'm not just throwing it on the floor. There is actually a garbage can underneath me, or to the side of me. That wasn't in the garbage. That was in my to use later bowl. So while we're waiting here, if the restaurant is still closed, we're doing pickup and delivery for Jones Wood. Shakespeare is completely closed right now, but we're hoping to be able to open us from Monday in the garden we have here, and it's a good time probably now to make a reservation because capacity out there is a bit small. We're 6 tables, but we're going to be open from 12 o'clock all the way through till 9 every day. Okay, so my water's ready, and my eggs are ready. Slatted spoon. Straight into the water. Again, I'm not just dropping it in, I'm placing it in. I'm going to sit those over there. Okay, so while those are cooling down, we're going to start to prepare the meat for the wrapping of the sausage. My tartar sauce is ready. I'm going to stick that to one side. Oh, it's not ready actually. We just got to add the lemon to it. So a little bit of splash of lemon. Again, you could always add more, but if you put too much lemon in, you won't be able to take it out. I'm going to give it a taste. Right now, I'm looking for the different flavor profiles that I put in there. I want a little more acidity in it. The reason I want that is because in the case of this dish here, the sausage is very fatty. This is the sauce to complement the sausage, and the acidity in the sauce is going to help break the fats of the sausage. Okay. Okay, we're good. Okay. So, eggs are cooling down. We're going to go ahead right now. So, in the recipe, I don't have it with me, but I think I said 4 ounces of sausage, chorizo sausage, 12 of the bangers.
Jason, do you need to turn on the oil or anything yet?
Oh yeah, I did mention it before. Yeah. So
no, that's
the oil
okay.
should be on medium. If I wasn't clear, I'm sorry. Don't worry, still got time. But put your oil on medium. If you already had your oil on medium, in a couple of minutes, I'm going to show you how to test the oil. If not, it's going to need a little more heating. Okay. So I think I said approximately there was a pound in total of meat. So a pound would be about five Scotch eggs worth of meat. Okay, so the chorizo. At this point, I'm going to put some gloves on. Guys, I hope I don't start sweating here. We've got the ventilation turned off and I'm melting. So I'm having trouble putting my gloves on. Okay. Okay, so 4 ounces of chorizo. In you go. Sausage, this is 12 ounces. The skin is still on the sausage. Take the skin off, take your knife, just run it down the side of the sausage. Again, you see my fingers on the knife. It's natural that I'm always going to be doing that. Such a good habit to get into. All right, then I'm just going to take the sausage out of the casing, like so. Drop it into my garbage. Okay, get rid of the casing. And then we're going to mix this up. So what we're looking for now is just to make a blend. To make it look blended. So you don't want to see like big, huge pockets of orange in there. Then you know you're going to have one bite that's going to be chorizo, and then the rest of it will be the breakfast sausage, the banger. If you're using a Italian sausage, for example, then you want to just check that the meat, the grind on the meat is not too coarse. If it is, you can solve that just by running a knife through it. The reason I'm telling you this is because when you eat the Scotch egg, or when you go to cut it in half, you're going to get a big pocket of meat pull off with the blade, and it'll basically ruin your presentation. But generally speaking, it shouldn't be a problem, but just it's worth checking. All right, so now we've got it nice and blended. All right, so this I'm going to just set to one side, because we're going to come back to that in a second. I'll remove my gloves. And we're going to attempt to peel the eggs without breaking the yolks. Okay, so the way this is done, you're just going to tap the yolk, the shell on the board. So you've got a little crack in it. Just go a little bit further around, but don't mismatch it. Remember that inside here, the yolk is completely runny. So you just got to be really gentle. I'm just running my finger around, and I'm creating a crack all the way around. And at that point, I'm just going to drop my shells back into this container. I'm peeling the yolk, peeling the shell, but I'm trying to get underneath the membrane of the shell. So you should be getting like a really smooth sensation on your thumb if you're using that to peel back the shell. If it's not, and it's kind of like a little bit sticky, or there's any resistance, that means that you're in between the shell and the membrane. You want to be underneath the membrane. And again, I'm being really gentle. It should come off in big pieces. If you have a huge piece and you notice it's starting to rip the white, just back off and just break the big piece into a little bit of a smaller one, and it'll come off easier. Okay. So it ends up looking like an egg. You can see how the crack is all the way around. Okay. If you're doing this with me here, after you take the you're going to take a break from it, and I want you to just check your oil temperature, and I'm going to do that with you in a second. You're going to need a piece of parsley. If you don't have any left because you've chopped it all, then the one you chopped is going to be fine, but just don't put too much. All right, so again, we've got two. I'm going to do one more in a second. So the way to check it, if you don't have a thermometer, take a piece of parsley. Now, the camera's all the way over there, and I'm going to do it over here, so I'm going to explain how it's going to work. I'm going to drop this parsley in, and it's going to start to crackle and like spit a little bit. That's a good temperature. At that point, I want you to just switch your stove onto the lowest possible setting. If you put it in, however, and it just starts to absorb all the oil and without crackling and getting crispy, it's not hot enough, right? Just let it go, and then just in a couple of minutes, just keep testing it. You've got a few minutes before you need it. There's plenty of time for it to reach the temperature. But you might hear it when I put it in here. You can't hear it because I can't hear it. But it's frying up and it's going to be crispy. This, incidentally, what I'm doing there is a beautiful garnish as well. If you're doing like a fried, like a sautéed piece of fish or whatever, it's sometimes I use that as a garnish where we'll just clean the parsley, we'll fry it, we'll scoop it out onto some paper to absorb the grease, little pinch of salt, and you've got a really nice crunchy little parsley garnish to go on top of your fish.
If I do have a thermometer, at what temperature would the oil be ready?
350.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just doing the last bit here. All right, so hopefully you're all good to go with the oil. Another little safety thing is, if you're doing it with kids, if you're doing it with children, then I would actually put the eggs in myself rather than the kids do it. They might just drop it in, and you don't want to do that. Otherwise, it's a very friendly, kid-friendly, fun thing to do. All right.
If you don't have a big oil pan, can you just use a big pot?
What's the difference?
Well, I don't know. I'm just reading the questions. I was actually going to get.
Oh, okay. Sorry. If you don't have a big, okay. So if you are meaning frying pan, then what you're going to do, you're still going to just half fill it, but then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be shallow frying the egg. When this is a deep fried dish.
So they've clarified. Thanks, Nicola. So they're just saying because you have a fryer, so at home, would you just recommend using a large pot then?
Yeah. So in the sheet that you got, I put a large pot. That's what you do. But again, just only half fill it. Don't go filling it up more. You did, and don't try to fry too many at the same time, because you just want to be very cautious of the level of oil coming up, because once you start to, I don't know, when you see French fries or things go into the fryer, you see that the level always rises. So if you go beyond half, and then you're putting in the weight of a few eggs, you might just put too much in and it'll overflow. This is the most tedious part and frustrating. Okay, so I got 4. All right, so we're going to go back now to the actual bread. We're almost done with this, guys, if you're getting bored. Okay, so eggs, milk. We're going to be making now the egg wash, and we're going to be creating what you call a pane station. And I seem to have lost my fork. Someone's going to get me a fork. Okay, so we're going to take the eggs. Thank you. We're just going to break the eggs into the bowl. Again, remember there's a garbage can there. Okay, try not to get any of the shell in. If you do spot a little bit, it's a good tip here for you. If you do happen to get shells in your eggs, if you're making meringues or something, the best way to get them out is with the shell, and just take it out like this. The most frustrating one is when you try to take it out with your fingers, because you'll be there forever trying to get it out. Okay, so you've got your 3 eggs. you're going to put a little splash of your whole milk. If you have skim milk, that's fine too. I'm not putting too much. I'll take my fork with my fork. Okay. And I'm just going to break up the yolks. I didn't do it there, but it's a little bit better to break the yolk, the eggs up first before you add the milk. Makes it a little bit easier. Lessens the chance of the liquid splashing over. Okay, so there you have your egg wash. And the pane station is going to be in this order: flour, egg wash, breadcrumbs. Okay, take my towel, set it up over here. Take my eggs. I just put my eggs with no shells here on the towel, just to absorb any excess water. Now, the next stage for me here is to form the actual meat that we're going to wrap around the egg. And there's two ways to do that. So I'm gonna do it in my hands with gloves on, or if you want, you can take a piece of paper like this. It could be just regular wax paper. I just happen to have these smaller pieces, and I'm going to put it on the board. Or I'm not going to now, but I would put it on the board. I'll take my amount of meat and I just press it out. And if you're doing this method and I'm doing it in my hands, we're still looking for the same result. So that's i.e. the thickness of it. Or we're just trying to wrap the egg right now. A bit more. Tip to self: it's not a good idea to have wet hands before you put your gloves on. Okay, then I got mine. All right, so we're going to take the egg, everything the meat, we're going to take approximately 4 ounces. So if you're using this recipe, then just divide it into 5. So this is about the size. It's like a big golf ball. Just work it in your hands a little bit, just to get it like you would a burger, just to make sure it's all nice and compact. And then I'm just going to flatten it out in my hand. Okay. And then with my other hand, I'm just going to take the egg carefully. I'm going to roll it in the flour. And I'm just going to make sure I get any excess flour. So now I've got the egg with the flour. The flour is what's going to stick the meat to the egg. I'm just going to make sure that I understand, or I remember in what direction the egg. This is the bottom, this is the top. This is very important, so that we actually have an egg looking. So I'm just tipping it off. That's what we're looking for. If you're using the paper, you're just going to take your egg and you're going to pop that on top, and then you're going to peel back the paper. Again, I'm just hardly putting any pressure on this at all. The last thing I want to do is have a big disaster and break the yolk, which I may well do, because that's the way my day's going. Okay. Well, you can see how I'm doing it. I'm just literally teasing part of the fat part over to the skinnier part. The next one will be a lot easier for you because you'll use the same quantity and you'll just flatten it out a little bit more. All right. Again, I know that my egg is in that direction. I haven't lost the shape of the egg. And then, okay, so at that point, top, bottom. I'm just going to try to reform it so it looks like an egg. And all I'm doing is rolling it in my hand. And then this part of your hand here is what I use to actually shape it. Okay. So now we have what looks like an egg. Again, we're going to reshape it before we put the bread on. So I'm going to just do that one, and I'm going to change my gloves. And I'm going to do the vegetarian one. Okay, it goes on much easier. Okay, Beyond Meat, probably about 4 ounces again. My egg, you can do it in a different order. I did it the other way around last time. I'm just going to make sure that I just knock off the excess flour. Just going to flatten the meat out, or the vegetarian mixture out. I know that it doesn't have to be a circle because the egg is not a circular shape, so that's pretty much what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my egg in like so, and then wrap it around. Okay, doing exactly the same thing as I did before. Okay, you might see that there's some bald spots. I'm familiar with those. Open up, you just want to work the egg around until it's all completely covered. Okay, so now I've got my 2 eggs. I'm going to put these back in. I successfully did it without breaking any yolks. It's a rarity. And I'm going to go back to my station of flour, egg wash, breadcrumb. Now I'm going to breadcrumb the eggs. So check your oil again if your oil was not hot enough with the parsley. If it is, then just put it now on a lower setting. If you switched it off because it was hot, just do another bit of parsley, and you might need to put it on, because after we've done this, we're going to go straight into the fryer. Okay, so flour. Just rolling it in my hands like that, and what I'm trying to do is knock off the excess flour. It's going to go into the eggs next. If I had a big lump of flour on there, when I put it into the eggs, it's going to look covered. But then as I take it out, it might just drop off the top layer of the flour, exposing more flour, and then the breadcrumbs won't stick to it. So into the egg wash, just roll it around. This is where you're probably going to start to ruin the shape of your egg. Don't worry, because we can reform it. Drain off any excess eggs, and then drop it into your flour. I'm sorry, your breadcrumbs. Again, just roll it around. If you did what I did and you overfilled the bowl with breadcrumbs, then you're going to end up with, actually I didn't do it, someone else did it. Trying to avoid putting my eggy hand back into the breadcrumbs, but I had to do it. All right, so this is my Scotch egg, and you see I'm just reshaping it.
Hi, Jason. I just want to apologize for a sec.
Yep.
So just asking, forgive me, but for the first breading part, it's egg wash, flour, then meat, or is it flour, egg wash, then meat?
It's flour, egg wash, pause. What do you mean meat? You're talking about the first time we used it?
Yes. For the first,
okay,
yes.
Because okay, so we did it twice. The first time was to put the meat onto the egg. And then we just did flour and then the meat mixture. The second time we're doing now, we're going to add the eggs. So we're going to go flour, eggs, breadcrumbs. So imagine the flour being the glue to stick the meat to the egg. That was the first time. And then the second time is this station that we're in right now, which again is flour. So we use it twice. then eggs. The flour is going to help the eggs stick to the meat, and then the breadcrumbs and the eggs are going to make the breadcrumbs stick to the meat. Does that make sense, Leon?
Yep, got it. Thanks. You make this look easy, Jason.
Not really. Look at the mess I've got on the board. So we're going to tell you about a little secret. We did a run through yesterday. And I did the whole thing, and we're just like flying through it. It's all really good. And then I realized that, I don't know how I did it, but I actually forgot to put the meat around the egg. It was kind of embarrassing. Thankfully, it wasn't live. All right. So anyway, we've got our 2 eggs. I'm going to move this away right now. Hopefully your oil is at the right temperature. I'm just going to give my station a little clean down. If you're cooks at home, you know, if you're not cooks at home, then best advice you could ever get is to do little bits of house cleaning along the way, and it helps for a better result of the product and also a shorter clean down. I have another garbage can over there, so I'm not putting stuff on the floor. Okay, so now we're going to cook the eggs. I've got my timer set again at 6:30. If you do this and you had a lot of success and you want to have another run, but you want to change the flavors, then the cooking parameters will always be the same, except for when you start changing the ingredients. So if you want a, what I did there, damage my egg. Hang on 1 second. If you did what I just did, this is actually good. It wasn't part of the script, but I'm going to show you how to fix something. I've just exposed part of the meat. I can't put that in there right now because the oil will get underneath the eggs and it'll break everything apart. So I'm just going to do a quick repair job. And all I'm going to do is put a little bit of flour into the meat. But remember, that's the glue. This is a bonus. Then I'm going to put my broken part. It's just going to dip it into the egg mixture. So now I've got eggs, and then I'm just going to put breadcrumbs back on. And then it's got me all so nervous that I smashed my egg up. All right, so now I've got a perfect egg. All right, so if you're changing, okay, so into the fryer, press my starter, and then we're good to go. If you're changing the ingredients and you're saying doing like salmon or something that's not so cooks it in cooks quicker than a sausage, say, then you might just need to lower the cooking time of it. If you want your eggs harder, then obviously you're going to boil your eggs for longer. Don't get overstressed about cooking time of eggs. People have all these theories about cooking eggs, but you're going to see right now that hopefully that 6 minutes 30 seconds is a soft egg. That's not much different. 7 minutes will be a semi-soft egg, and beyond that it becomes a hard egg, and that's it. If you some people talk about the sulfur going around, or the black rim around the egg yolks. That's going to happen from time to time, no matter what you do with it. But I believe that that happens when you don't bring the temperature of the egg down fast enough. Because as something's cooking, it's working, things are happening. It's if it sits in a dormant temperature for too long, that's when you start to get reactions around, the yolks and stuff. Okay, so while we're waiting for that to cook, this is how we present them at the restaurant. So I'm going to go back to my sauce. Next, I'll take some off the bottom because I want it to go in the jar as opposed to all the way down the side. plenty of sauce, because when you eat these, you're going to be dipping them in there, and honestly, it's really sad when you've got like half a Scotch egg left and you've run out of sauce, if that's the way you're doing it. All right. So Eliane, any questions for me? By the way, I forgot to say, Eliane's she's doing this with us, and she's going to be showing her eggs to everybody at the end, right, Eliane?
Yeah. Myself and my roommate Jan are both doing this, and it's both of our first time eating Scotch eggs, actually.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. I mean, what I think we're going to do actually is try them today and then go to Jones Wood once you guys are open. So for those of you that are in the New York area and totally mess up your eggs today, like likely we are about to do, we'll just go to Jones Wood and try the real thing. I think is the best option. But kind of, I guess, as we talk about everyone cooking at home, I know we put it in the chat and asked everyone who's cooking, but today, surprise, we are doing a little bit of a competition. So for those of you that are cooking at home, we'd love at the end of this for you to actually show us your eggs, and then
show us your eggs.
Show us your eggs, and then there will be a very lucky winner, as per Jason's judgment, who can win a brunch for 4 at Jones Wood Foundry once they're back up and at full capacity again, which is very exciting. So you can also go and try the good stuff. So, you know, keep cooking those eggs, get them fried and nice, and then we'll have you all present them for those of you that want to participate.
Yeah. So you could, I think I was saying, sorry, go on.
No, I was just asking if you can bake a Scotch egg rather than frying it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you can do whatever you want to do. You can bake it or shallow fry it or wherever. The whole thing will be how you felt it came out at the end of the day. If you're going to bake it, then the technical term for that would be air frying, right? So what you would do then is probably have a very much finer breadcrumb. So you'd take your breadcrumbs and you'd like really blitz them so that they're just super fine. And then you would do the process the whole way. You'd make sure your oven is super hot. I would say probably around 375 to 400 degrees. And just pop one in the oven first and figure out the cooking time of it, because it's not necessarily going to be the 6 minutes, 30 seconds that we're doing here. But the whole thing about cooking, this style of cooking, is about having fun and experimenting with it, and knowing that, you know, you can't get stressed out with all recipes. Once you get to the point of starting to make like chocolate desserts and all this kind of stuff, then obviously in pastry, then grams make a big difference. But in this kind of stuff, it's about having fun.
Great. And someone's asking, do you cook them for the same amount of time when you shallow fry?
Yeah, what you're looking for, yes and no. If you're shallow frying it, and once you put the eggs in, the oil actually goes over the top of the egg, then yes. If you're shallow frying it and you've got half of the egg exposed, then obviously the bottom is going to cook and the top is not. So then you might want to go 5 minutes on one side, turn it over 5 minutes on the other side, and then I spend a minute just kind of rolling it around in the fryer. If you're doing that method though, make sure that you're not using tongs or a fork. Use a spoon, because you want to preserve the shape of the egg. The whole thing about this is just so it looks like an egg. Next question.
I don't think we have any from other people, but I have some questions. What other kinds of sauces would you eat with a Scotch egg? I know that you're doing it with tartar sauce, but is there anything else that you'd recommend? I think I've seen it in the past with like mustard.
Yeah, we do that here. So anything that's, I mean, if you think about it, it's essentially what we're doing is charcuterie, right? It's just a vulgar form of it, but yeah. Mustards, definitely, there's so many flavors of mustard that you could use with it. If you're using Italian, garlic aioli, smoked, you could buy, oh, there we go. Smoked mayonnaise, I do I smoke garlic cloves and put them through mayonnaise, and it makes a lovely smoked mayonnaise. I noticed the other day, I know from before, not that I've ever used it, but you can actually buy smoke in a bottle now at the supermarket. So you can put some of that smoked stuff through the mayonnaise and use that too.
Nice. And
so there's my eggs.
Hey, show us your eggs.
Right.
Someone's asking what the best low carb alternative is to this, if one exists.
Low carb alternative. All right. Well, I think you probably, the Beyond Meat one would be a good alternative though. Not sure really. I mean, as I said, you can put whatever you want around it. You've just got to have something that is a binding agent to stick. So in this case, it's the gluten, the natural gluten in the meat itself, plus the eggs and the way that you grind it. So you could do this with chopped vegetables or ground vegetables, and you could put a little bit of, I'm just thinking on the fly right now, but you could put a little bit of egg white in it. That would be what's going to stick it together. But then you're going to have a problem because you're not going to be able to form the meat. So then if you're trying to be gluten-free, then you might add a little bit of gluten to, like gluten-free flour to it, just to form more of a paste. But again, I don't think that anything is not possible. So if you know, this type of thing, and the idea of this whole exercise here was to try and sort of say, you were using ingredients from the pantry, you know, if you don't have chorizo on hand and sausages, but otherwise, generally people have got capers in there and cornichons. So you want me to cut my eggs? This is the big moment. All right, so when I'm cutting my egg, I'm using a serrated knife, all right? I'm going to cut through the egg, and I'm going to do something that is going to look pretty scary, but like I was saying before about the grind of the meat, if it's too big, the serrated part of the knife might catch a little bit of the big chunk of meat, and as you go through it, it's going to rip it out. So then you're going to end up with a big hole in your egg. So as I'm cutting through it, I'm going to get to a point of where I'm going to actually put my fingers over, but I'm still going to be leaving a nice gap in between. There's no chance I'm going to cut my fingers, but my fingers are going to cradle and lessen the risk of it coming out. So here we go. It's probably going to end up being hard boiled. Just kidding.
Do you want to cut one?
I want you to do it first.
All right. Look at that. It's perfect. If I say so myself. All right. So there's something that I'm going to do right now, which wasn't on the recipe, so please forgive me. But I'm going to finish these eggs with a little Malden salt, which is a salt. It's not a sea salt, it's a salt from the Essex. And it's kind of a very flaky salt. You can see it. All right, so this is a really nice salt. You could definitely buy this in the supermarkets. So this, I'm just going to put a little bit on the egg yolk. Obviously the egg yolk didn't get much salt. And you can see that the egg yolk, if it goes close in, you can see that the egg yolk is actually kind of firm around the outside, but it's soft in the middle. All right. When you're making your eggs, this is when you're wrapping it, because obviously that's the thickness of it. Someone asked me the other day if you do that, then don't put the breadcrumbs on. Just sort of keep them in the fridge. They will sit there quite happily for 3, 4, 5 days. But then when you go to breadcrumb them, you have to reshape the egg a little bit and make sure that you get rid of that flat spot, and then just go ahead. All right. Now, and dispose of it sensibly. I hope everyone's healthy and well, and I hope to see you at Jones Wood. We are taking reservations right now. Ellen, over to you.
Amazing.
Oh no, I want to see the eggs.
I want to see everyone's eggs. I mean, we can show ours. One looks a little weird. One looks what I would imagine it should look like. I can actually put my
Well, I
screen.
can't see it.
Can you see them?
No.
I'm
Maybe
gonna move.
oh,
I'm
hang
gonna
on a second.
Here we go. Okay. So I have mine here.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
How did we do? I had a good teacher. That's why.
It's because we did it together.
it was all y'all. So for those of you listening, we are going to be sending a recording out with the recipe and instructions to everyone after this. I know we've had a few questions of that throughout, so don't worry. We have all this for you to look back on and follow along if you weren't today. So for those of you that do want to show your eggs, we would really love for you to do that. I know it sounds really weird, but if you would like to participate, it depends, yeah. If you would, ooh, I see Sumner showing hers. Those look fantastic. But Jason, you're the judge, not me. So you're gonna have to switch that up.
Are you showing me the eggs now, or how are we doing that?
You want me to show
No, I
them?
just don't know. I mean, how am I judging if I
I
can't
was
see
gonna say, Ilian, you should spotlight each
Oh,
person. There you go.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty
Those
awesome.
look amazing.
You know what? That's going to be hard to beat. Well, I'd be interested in the ingredients there.
All
Yeah,
right, now
yeah.
I'm gonna spotlight Susan's. There we go. Ooh, that also looks good.
That looks great.
And then is there anyone else that would like to show us?
So
your-
Susan, go back to show us your eggs again, Susan.
Susan, I'm gonna unmute you. Hi, Susan.
There I am.
Show
Hi.
us
I
your
started
eggs.
eating. I was just typing in the thing that
You're eating them already?
I'm hungry. Can you see them?
All right.
Yeah.
So the only thing about that egg, that one is, if you come back to me, Elian,
Yep.
when you're shaping the egg, that part of your hands is the most important part, because that's going to create the base of the egg. I don't want to so that's my egg. It's going to be like that, and then this finger is so you're guaranteed to keep the shape there.
I was trying for that, but I'm gluten-free. So I'm using a gluten-free breadcrumb and all of that, so it kind of lost its shape a little bit, and I'm shallow frying, so it lost. Even though using the spoon,
Okay. So that's
thanks,
it then.
Susan.
Shallow frying, because
yeah.
All right. I'm gonna switch it over to Sebastian Cray, who also has a lovely display of eggs.
Oh, I lost the picture. Hang on a second.
No worries. And Sebastian, I can unmute you. Can you see it?
That is good. Just move it around a little bit. When you cut it, that's it. You see when you cut it, what happened, I bet you what happened is the edge of the knife caught the big piece of meat and it ripped the top off. So that's what I'm talking about, of like, when you're cutting through it, then that's the part that really sucks if that happens, because it's not really a lot of work, but it just ruins the presentation, but they look delicious.
Amazing. Thank you, Sebastian. Okay, now I'm going to switch over to Ed Abbott. And you can see those. Also,
Wow. That's pretty impressive. Is that your first time?
Ed, I'm going to unmute you, or give you the power, like the ability to unmute yourself if you'd like to do that, so you can.
Was that your first time?
Yeah, the first.
Nice.
Yes.
All right. That's
You
pretty
were
amazing.
very informative and well spoken. Thank you.
Well, that's good. I mean, for me to see that someone created that for the first time is pretty impressive.
That's awesome.
And I did a good job.
And then I saw Anastasia. Do you mind if I spotlight your video? Oh, there you're back now. Okay, and then here's Anastasia's.
Someone's a little bit peckish.
You got a little hungry? Anastasia, you're unmuted.
So, yeah, okay, I should be unmuted. Yes, I couldn't wait.
It's a very delicate, pretty little bite there. All right.
It's delicious.
amazing. All right. So, Jason,
All right.
is there anyone
All right.
else that wants to put their eggs on the screen? I don't think I see any more. So, I think that's everyone. That judge is totally up to you because I think everyone's look amazing. So if you'd like to announce the winner, Jason.
I think they were all amazing. I really do. I think probably the first one technically was, sorry, I forgot your name. The first one technically was all the way around. The thickness of it all. I think that would probably be the winner for me.
All
but
right.
if I see any of those people at the restaurant, then I'll buy them brunch anyway. How's that sound?
You, Sumner. Congratulations. Congrats.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Okay, so we will email everyone a recording, a list of all the ingredients again, the recipe, so that you can watch it over if you'd like to share it with anyone else. But I hope for all of those of you who have cooked along with us, I see some of you snacking, which I love to see. I hope you enjoy your lovely lunch. Thank you again, Jason, and to Jones Wood Foundry for doing this for us today. And we hope to see you all soon. Please stay safe and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.